distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, friends and enemies.
We'd like to welcome everyone to the Brooklyn, to the BK History Club. We meet here every other Wednesday in honor of the great Bill Mackey. Sister Colette Colvin, may she rest in peace. Jamil Alameen, El-Haj Malik Shabazz, Dr. Professor Amos Wilson, Brother Gil Noble, original Mackey's member, African Helping Africans, Brother Assad, Louis Ray Rivera, the great attorney at war, Alton H. Maddox, Minister Khalid, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Ivan Van Sertima, Professor George Simmons, Runoko Rashidi, and all the individuals who burned the midnight oil to bring history, to bring truth. They didn't have to do it. Chancellor Williams, so give yourself a great big hand for the people that's here and our Zoom audience. So in honor of Leola Maddox, the United African Movement in Alton, who believed in the live lectures and believed in bringing people together in the age of YouTube and the age of Zoom. She still believed, and she drove a moderately old car that got miles to the gallon, and she came from Teaneck. And she came down because she believed in people, bringing people together. So we want to continue the hard work of bringing lectures and information to the global community. So we're going to move the camera over to the Amos collection. This is to help Brother Sababu and African World Info Systems continue the great work of Amos. We have Blueprint for Black Power. Zoom into that, Linda. We have the psychology of self-hatred and self-defeat and reclamation of the African mind. We got black on black violence, the psychodynamic of black self-annihilation in service of white domination. The falsification of African consciousness. Awakening the natural genius of black children. Louis Ray Rivera's classic, Jazz in Jail. Issues of manhood in black and white, and African-centered consciousness versus the New World Order. These books is to help Sababu continue the great work of Amos. And he's getting ready to come out with another book, Burning the Midnight Oil. So we have these books to continue the work. And I never want to forget Louis Ray Rivera, who when Professor Mackey left us, Louis Ray would come down here and he would speak for hours. Professor Mackey left us too soon and he would speak. And we would walk him home, and he'd speak for another hour and a half, and he only lived 4 blocks away. So we never want to forget Louis Ray. He's from out of Marcy Project over there. So we have that. And also black on black violence. Whether we know it or not, whether we want to look at it, whether we want to deal with it, the psychodynamics of black self-annihilation in service of white domination. Whether we know it or not, we are still controlled by the European. Every aspect of our lives is still controlled by the European. But when you read Amos, Amos gets into the psychodynamics of the situation. So this Amos classic is one of the best. I have some publications here for the audience. You could get these books, you read them, you go over them, and you deal with them. And they're also information, because whatever you want to know about an individual, good, bad, or indifferent, you buy the books. You don't worry about somebody saying, oh, anybody could write a book and put their spin on it. Oh, this person is borrowing books. Oh, he's doing this. Trump is borrowing books. Listen, the majority of the books are not in school. The majority of the books are not in school. You could go down to Strand's bookstore, order books. Brother Trust sold books all over the place, and you could get all the books. And these books are not taught in the school, so you don't worry about somebody banning something. That's nonsense. They'll never erase African history. In honor of Tyreen Wright, the making of a Pan-Africanist, Booker T. Washington. Everybody has something to say about Booker T, but Sister Tyreen, and Women's History Month. Also, give us a great big hand for Women's History Month. But the great women warriors that are still doing the work. In honor of Cynthia McKinney, great Georgia congressperson. Zoom in so you can get a picture of our sister Cynthia. Serious sister. And in my opinion, the only one that the people of Georgia, she the only one that cared about the people in the state of Georgia. Those clowns they got down there now, those boule clowns don't care nothing about the people of Georgia. Cynthia McKinney went beyond the call of duty. In her book, When China Sneezes, From the Corona Lockdown to the Global Political Economic Crisis, and they got rid of her on orders of white folks down there in Georgia. So when you hear all these people running around talking that nonsense, Cynthia McKinney was the only one. And her second publication, when Donald Trump made the suggestion when he called places S-hole countries, well, Cynthia McKinney wrote a book, How the U.S. Creates These S-hole countries. So when you run around talking about he said this, he said that, you got to understand the CIA, the NSA, the jackals, the economic sanctions, the inability of the country to defend itself. So it is the United States that creates these S-hole countries. So this is Cynthia McKinney. So every president that sit up there, and you know who they work for. I found this book, Richard B. Moore, The Name Negro, Its Origin and Its Evil Use. Just happened to pick this up while walking. Also, Dope Incorporated, from the Chinese opium drug wars to the getting African people strung out on heroin in the 60s to stop a movement that shook the world. They got us high. And if you go into the old Gil Noble, like it is, and they got a Chancellor Williams interview, and he talks about how they dumped the drugs in the black community, how they had to get somebody, the government in conjunction with organized crime, and how they got it in the black communities. They had to get somebody that had a criminal record. He had to be well known. And he went around and said, this is the new thing. And they changed the concept of the music. Did the same thing to the Chinese. And now, the medical marijuana, and the man behind it is George Soros. Lyndon LaRouche did an excellent job on this book. Dope Incorporated. They got more weed spots. Everybody's selling it. Whites, Arabs, they smoking it, they walking down the street, ain't nobody laughing, ain't nobody hungry. They go into the weed store before they go to the liquor store. You can thank George Soros. And if you want to get more, Lyndon LaRouche talks about it. Everybody is selling and smoking that nonsense, and you can't do nothing about it. Nothing. In order of Ayo Kamati, his 1-2 punch. Jews are the problem, one, and his second classic, Jews or the Problem, The Psychology of the Jew. And we talking about high-powered people, not these regular folks running around here. We talking about the big dogs. He's talking about the big boys, the irritated genie. He's not talking about regular people. He's talking about the ones upstairs. So if you really want to get into what's going on globally, Ayo Kamati, War on the Horizon, you get these two books. One Nation Under Blackmail. The solid union between intelligence, organized crime, and the rise to Jeffrey Epstein. Everybody's talking about Jeffrey Epstein, the Epstein files. Let me tell you, everybody was at that freak party. All them high-powered people. Regular people running their mouth, you couldn't even get next to the joint. You ain't got enough money to get there. You got to go to the regular spot over there in Hunts Point. You can't go to them big boy spots. You got to go to the regular joint. You're running Epstein, social media, Epstein. They won't let you nowhere near there. And if you got in there, you probably was washing dishes or something. So all the celebrities was there. Black ones too. They ain't gonna hide. But this young lady, Whitney Webb,
I got that book. Yeah.
serious sister.
That's a
White sister too.
Yeah, well,
A white sister.
yeah.
Because she lays it down. White sister. Because she lays it down, volume 1 and 2. The Epstein file. They won't let you know where you gotta go to the regular club. Over there on Georgia Avenue.
Georgia where?
You gotta go to the regular spots. Over there by the bus depots. If you really want to know how Europeans lived in the dark ages of Europe, everybody think that the umbrella was meant to stop rain. Europe was so filthy and disgusting, they would throw the human waste out of the window.
Yeah, I heard something about that, yeah.
And the umbrella was created to stop you from getting hit in the head with human waste and urine. So Terrence McLaughlin, A Social History as Seen Through the Uses and Abuses of Dirt. And it's a small read, but it tells you about the Dark Ages. Dirt is a public health and hygiene. The gangs in New York, at one, the Bloods and the Crips ain't got nothing on the Dead Robins, ain't got nothing on the Bowery Boys. They make them look like children's play. At one time, there was over 400 roving gangs in the Five Points, down there by City Hall. And we came in, selling us on the South Street Seaport. But these gangs were vicious, and they rose up to the creation of organized crime. So if you want to really know about gangs, you get this book, The Gangs of New York. And they did not like the way Hollywood portrayed them in the movie. The Irish did not like it. But you got to read the books. And don't say, oh, anybody can write a book. If you want to know about gang activity, you get this book, The Gangs of New York. Excellent job. I wound up picking this up, and Richard Pryor, if you really want to know what's going on how he got into what he was doing, Richard Pryor's book is unbelievable. With different family members and whole houses and houses of the night and women of the night and what he went through. Richard Pryor went through a lot. And this book gets into it. And it's a hell of a book. It's a hell of a book. So if you want to know about somebody, you read the books. And you don't say anybody can read. If you want to read something on Richard, this book is excellent on his life coming up. The Manufacturing of a President, the CIA insertion of Barack Hussein Obama into the White House. And black folks they just can't get over this guy. And nobody wants to read a book on him. But Wayne Manson did, and there's a couple of other ones out on it. Read the books. Jackson family did not like him. Unspoken alliance, Israel's secret relationship with apartheid South Africa. And from what I understand, they got a trade route, and Dr. Lewis is going to get into that. They got a trade route going through the New Hope territory down in South Africa with the ships. So you know who's involved with that. Synagogues of Satan. Brief history of Jewish world domination.
Oh, I got that. I got that. Interesting book, yep.
The Shadow Party, how George Soros, Hillary Clinton, and 60s radicals took control of the Democratic Party, and the world's greatest investor. You think Warren Buffett is something? No. You got to read Soros.
Yeah.
When you talk about trading stocks and manipulating and causing governments to collapse, you ain't never seen. I call him King George. And it's another publication, The Man Behind the Curtain. You think the Wizard of Oz, this guy is, but he got power. He ain't no chump. Read about George Soros, because he's in control everywhere.
Yes, he is.
And you want to learn about investing? The book talks about, it took gold out of the mouths on the concentration camps. How he got his millions. An empire of their own. How the Jews invented Hollywood. And they've been disgracing us since then. From Birth of a Nation to Hollywood was getting ready to go under. And they came out with the black exploitation films. The creation of King Kong, Godzilla. And then you're going to talk about somebody saying Obama and them was dressed up as gorillas. Well, Hollywood, Harry Cohen, William Fox, Louis B. Mayer, Jack and Harry Warner, Carl Lambert, Adolf Sukov, and all them Hollywood moguls created these images that destroyed black folks, making them look like gorillas, making us look like we was always scared and shaken. It's Hollywood, and it was an invention. They invented stuff that never happened. John Henry Clark said it never happened. They had a time of one of the greatest record keeping in Africa. Record keeping and stuff was unbelievable. And they have no record of these people coming up in there. They was not there. So when you look at anybody that's getting into the music industry, the movie should read this book. And in the end, Louis B. Mayer, they gave him a backroom office in the empire he controlled. And they started taking over. And they did not like Neil Gergler for writing this book. But they created images that destroyed black people, African people, and they're still doing it today. So you get this book. Like them or not. The Trumps. 3 generations that built an empire. Bad dude. You can say what you want to say, bad dude. And as Dr. Lewis said, his father came here with a suitcase and a dream. So when you want to know about somebody, you read books on that individual. And maybe if we start acting like him, we'll get some respect. Because black folks ain't getting no respect nowhere. I ain't got no problem bringing up books on individuals. Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings. What happened to slavery? You get books on individuals. So if you want to read about somebody, this is a 400-page book. And it talks about his family. It talks about how they came and built stuff. How he joined the secret society. and the secret society helped them. Our folks get in there and won't even help us. Our folks get in these societies and won't help the masses of the people. So you want to read something about an individual, you get the book. And that's the way it is, like him or not. Because he wouldn't be in there if the Democratic Party ain't mess up. They put him in there with their shenanigans. In honor of Dr. Ben, Black Man of the Now, Dr. Ben tells you about those pyramids, how they built them, the different religions, the greatness of Africa, how they built all these pyramids, and Dr. Ben brought it in. And it's only one person, a couple of people that's following his orders, and Dr. Lewis is one of them. Everybody else is kind of shady. So in honor of Dr. Ben, African or American, Black identity and political activism in New York, 1784, 1861. In honor of African Echoes and Brother Trust Graham, Lisa M. Alexander, sister of Michelle Alexander. And at this time, we was in some deep waters. It's an excellent book. Another reparations. You got reparations committees, people from Ghana and all these places talking about reparations. But look at the whips that they put on him. Look at the hangings. Look at the postcards. Look at the burnings. And then you got folks coming over here, want to make what you should get. The hangings, the whippings, the dogs. You would be someplace in the South and you belong to Mr. Gilmore, and you had to have a paper to show that you belonged to the Gilmore. You was property of the Gilmore plantation, the Smith plantation, the Johnson plantation. So you running around here talking about what's happening now, with people running, trying to escape. So the stuff that we done been through in this country is unbelievable. And you want to have another study. Get out of here with that nonsense. The hangings, the lashes, and I ain't gonna mention when they took a horse and put it to one arm of a woman and put it to the other arm, and they told the horse to run and split the women wide open. Women's History Month. Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization. And when you get this book, I put on Facebook about Leo Hansberry, but Chancellor Williams, Leo Hansberry definitely on him money. Chancellor Williams in this book tells us all the mistakes we made as a people in the land of the black, in Kemet. Everything was not all right amongst African people in those great dynasties, Timbuktu. The land mass was so big. He talks about the Arab slave trade. He talks about the Moors. He talks about those great armies. Gladiators. And historically, Hollywood destroyed the image of those great African warriors, making you scared with the Tarzan movie, how you running in your own land. Chancellor Williams gets rid of that. And like I said, that Gil Noble program where he tell you how they dump the drugs in every black community within the United States and started getting us high. Destroyed us. And they still doing it. Now they got that fentanyl and all that. Chancellor Williams, the Arab slave trade was first, the European slave trade was second. When we ruled, thank you for the African Echoes. When we ruled, we controlled it all. The re-enslavement of black Africans from the Civil War to World War II. The tragedies that happened to us. There's a brother strung up. Just look at it. And we ask for something and you ain't getting nothing. And they still want to have another study. And this mayor that just came in got over $5 million wrongfully paid to delivery people on these bikes. That's a form of reparations. In honor of Women's History Month, Gladiator Queen, Nzinga of Angola, African warrior queen. Every woman should read about Queen Nzinga and Winnie Mandela. If you win against Winnie Mandela, she took a tire and threw it on top of a trader and burnt him up. And the Portuguese would not give her a seat to negotiate. And the brothers made their own seat for her to sit on. And she was a fierce negotiator. And if you read this book, maybe you will not allow these people to destroy you and take advantage of you. You think twice. Women's History Month. Palestine, in honor of Big Harold, who left us too soon. The Transfer Agreement, the untold story of the secret pact between the Third Reich and Jewish Palestine. You get this book. You want to know about Palestine, free Palestine, and all this. Professor Mackey going home. William Henry Mackey Jr. returned to the Georgia roots, and he always talked about Jacksonville. And I found this, and this is in honor of Bill Mackey. So let me hurry up. Neither safe nor effective, the CO vaccine. In honor of Dr. Scott Whitaker, and he's going to be on Darren Muhammad's show this week. And if you get your medical questions, see if you're not lucky enough to come down here and talk to Dr. Lewis at the Mackey's group, you could get your medical questions and ask Dr. Scott Whitaker. The causes and solutions of disease, malnutrition, and the medical sins that are killing the world. Dr. Scott Whitaker, who's out of Georgia. Causes unknown. Edward Down. The young warriors, the young athletes catching heart attacks in the prime of their life, dropping dead. See, if you came down here, Dr. Lewis brought this information out years ago, and they hurried up and took it off. But it's in the books. The medical killing machine. Finding facts that can save your life. Children's Health Defense. The Wuhan cover-up. Rand Paul, the Great CO Deception. Now, anybody can write a book, but you better read these books, because it's not over. Vax versus unvaxxed. And this guy, Mark Sloan, The Cancer Industry, Crimes and Conspiracy, and the Death of His Mother. He wrote a book on what happened. Down the CO rabbit hole. The ultimate vaccine timeline. See, we have the books, but we also have the great doc here. This goes into the history of vaccines and pharmaceutical companies. Bacteria viruses. 1921. Biological. Every name, everything they come up with. Heading up to this present time. And the Pfizer papers. They had the Moderna papers, but some kind of way them big boys at Moderna stopped it. But they couldn't fight. Pfizer came on out with it, and it tells you how the blood started looking. And what happens? Under the Freedom of Information Act. What happens? I don't know how Moderna got away with it. But Pfizer put it out, and they wanted to withhold this information for 75 years. And as our sister Cynthia said, they may have finally came up with something that's destroying us, and we do not have the ability to connect the dots. They're coming up with we are going to so many funerals, and people can't even connect the dots on what's going on. Thorough Black Talk, the hottest show on the East Coast. Tad, Keisha, Sister Brooke, Sister Mama, the Freedoms Bureau, forgot the brother's name. Excellent program. That comes on Thursday at 8 o'clock on Facebook. They're talking about the reparations movement and how people are running in there trying to stop it and sabotage. They even have a group that tried to get their own thing going behind everybody's back and got caught. Well known. Blog Talk Radio, Sister Empress, Brother Lumumba, El Pollinator, Brother Moses. That comes on 10 o'clock Saturdays. That's on YouTube. Excellent program. That's our Philadelphia connection. And she's going to be on the program this week with Dr. McIntosh on the 28th Simultap. Ayo Kamati, Sankofa Revolutionary Radio. They have a blockbuster program on Monday from 9 to 10. Dr. Haru, bad brother. Medical advice. Dr. Haru is from 9 to 10. And then from 9 to 10 and then 10 to 11 is the Irritated Genie. But they also have a brother comes on from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And you can call in. I forgot his name, but this is Sankofa Revolutionary Radio. Come on every Monday. You log on at 8 o'clock. That program and go all the way. Our Baltimore connection, Darren Muhammad, State of the City. He comes on sometime Wednesday, Thursday, but the Saturday blockbuster program is on the money. So big ups to Darren Muhammad in the State of the City. Also, Dr. Aleem comes on every Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and he has an excellent Zoom program on health and everything that's going on. So we want to thank Dr. Aleem. The African Echo Study Group comes every Friday, and that's Brother Trust Grams, the mediator, and he mentions a whole bunch of books. And they also doing the psychology of self-hatred. The African Echoes family meets every... Huh? Oh, I left it in there. It's in the basket. I'll bring it up. So that's Brother Trust Graham, Brother True, and that comes on 8 o'clock, African Echoes. And they give you a 1-2 punch. And they did an in-depth on the destruction of black civilization. And I read that book a few times, and when Trust did it, he just brought out stuff that you just don't see. That it was not everything was not all right. Big conflicts. So we want to thank African Echoes, and then they give you a 1-2 punch, the Know Thyself study group out of Asbury Park. That's True and Trust Mediators. That's a 1-2. Dr. Aleem's, Simultap. They having the 28th, I believe, they're having a 3-panel discussion. Sister Empress and 2 other people. So if you contact go into Simultap, that's going to be out in Queens at the office. So the Simultap organization, and congratulations on the other organizations in the victory with Netflix, with this disgustful betrayal of the old Good Times TV series, where they basically just took us and all kind of disgusting things that we were doing, and they put it in a cartoon, and we stopped it. But they still didn't stop. They're going to come out with something else, degrading us every day. But the Simultap organization and other organizations came out. The UNIA, Raymond, Dugal, and Michael Duncan, and they had a program on the other day, and they're trying their best to get us one mind at a time. Race first, myself included, but they doing an excellent job, and it's one of the hardest jobs is to flip our mind. It's one of the hardest jobs, and the UNIA is doing it, and they're trying, and they got a store. You don't have to worry about getting disrespected in any of their stores. If you go to The Rock, 13205 Merrick Boulevard, right by Burlap, right across the street from the Home Depot on Merrick Boulevard. So if you could get out there, everybody in there it's a mini Jetros. So you will not be disrespected, and nobody's going to say anything to you or look at it's excellent. So I want to thank the UNIA in trying their best to flip us, myself included. But at least you go out there and spend some money with some folks at that store. It's excellent. And you buy in bulk. So, ladies and gentlemen, The BK History Club, Africans Helping Africans, our good friend, in his series on YouTube. You could go on YouTube, all our videos is on YouTube. You could go in, go over them, Trust, Doc, everybody, Munderson. And if you got a problem with any of the speakers or what anybody say, you could come down here to the live lecture. We meet live and talk. So Dr. Lewis is going beyond the call of duty. U.S. and the Iranian War, 26. This thing has been going on a long time. Give a great big hand to our good friend, African Helping Africans in the BK History Club, and bring them on, Dr. Arthur Lewis. And we want to thank my lovely wife, Linda, for controlling the camera. Another excellent job. Give her a great big hand.
Oh, that's the wife? Okay.
That's the one that controls everything, doesn't it?
Maybe I sit up here. Good evening, African community, globally. We're here meeting in Brooklyn, an African group of people, and our mandate is to select a topic and then present that topic to make a contribution to the information base so that we can educate each other. I want to extend my appreciation for Ray, his family, and the crew of Mackey's 2 to 3, making it possible for me and whoever else has the opportunity to come to speak to you. You know, when you're listening to some military people, they always talk about logistics. You gotta have logistics. You gotta have a mechanism for keeping the procedure going. And that's what is being done here at Mackey's 2 to 3. Logistics, to be able to have a location that's secure, that we can meet, to be able to have logistics, chairs to sit down, logistics, those aspects that allow us to present to you. So there are so many different things that we will communicate with each other. So each person who has the opportunity to speak to you has to make a selection of what it is that he or she decides that they want to speak to you about, because there's so many things that we have to educate each other with. You have a 3-page handout that we're going to deal with. And the handout is going to deal with partially with the war that is commencing now between the United States of America and Israel against Iran. I think the war started February 28th and is still continuing to this day. And there's so many aspects that you can deal with when it comes to this military confrontation. And then you ask, what military confrontation are you talking about? In February 28, 2026, it's reported through the news media and other types of communication that two countries, the United States of America and another country called Israel, mounted a military attack on a country in Asia. And that country in Asia is Iran. So then you say, well, why would I pick to choose to present this conflict? And the rationale behind it is I wanted to see whether or not we could deal with some history to understand what's behind it and the profound repercussion of what will come about at the end of this war. When we go back to Africa, present day, and we look at the map and we go 100 years back in the colonial times, what Africa is now in the process of doing is restructuring the continent in a manner that helps African people. And in that process, there are a lot of different ways to handle it. But we could use the three countries called the Sahel, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, who had 3 successive coups 2 or 3 years ago. And the way they had the coup was indigenous people militarily changing who controls those 3 countries. And there were certain steps that these individuals took in order to start changing the structure and the way African people rule themselves on the continent of Africa. Okay. And the reason that I bring this up is the fact that the United States and Israel have a particular way in which they want to conduct themselves on a global scale and what they want to do. And the information that I'm going to bring to you is information, as usual, that's in the public domain. And the information doesn't contain any material that is contrary to Iran, contrary to the United States or Israel. So I looked at some areas to discuss. On the first page, you're going to see some information, and I will explain this. The second page will also contain information. What kind of information? Information specifically on Iran, specifically on the United States, and specifically on the war that is going on. And then the third page is to give you a brief history of Israel. You have 3 countries that's engaged in warfare. One is the United States of America, which is 3 million square miles, which has a population, they say 350 million people. There's a second country called Iran, which is located in Asia, southwest part of Asia, and it's about 90 million people, and it's about the size of all of Western Europe, west of the Ural. So you're using these terms, but we're going to talk about the geography. And then you have a third country called Israel. So what I'm going to do is look at go through the 3 pages, and on the top of it, see if you have in your folder Israel. Hopefully you do. I added it in. Do you have it?
3rd page.
Yeah, okay, you have it.
Yes.
Okay. What I'm doing is just reporting on Israel, exactly what's in the textbooks, exactly what's on the internet. I'm not adding anything. I'm not making any prejudicial statements for or against. But there are 3 countries fighting. And the reason that I'm going to read the statistics on Israel so you get an idea of the size of Israel as it relates to the United States and it relates to Iran. Iran, again, being the size of all of Western Europe, west of the Ural, 90 million. Israel being a smaller country in the United States. So I'm going to read you the statistics on Israel so that if I'm talking to you, you say, well, he says Israel. I don't know about Israel specifically because Dr. Lewis did the research. So I'm going to present it. So I'm conveying to you the information that I picked up so that you could better understand Israel's role in this so-called war that broke out. Okay, Israel is in the southeast region of West Asia. We don't have the map. Next time we'll bring the map. It borders, so you look at a map of Asia, and you look on the west, the left, and the southern part. So Israel is in Asia. It's not in Europe, it's not in the United States. So when you hear Israel, you're talking about a country that's in Asia, the western part. It borders on Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. These are names of countries that are in this area. Okay? The capital of Israel is Jerusalem. The population of Israel is 10 million. The official language is Hebrew, and the continent that Israel is on Asia, and it was declared independent on April 4, 1948. So that's when Israel, that area comes in. The population of Israel is 73 to 75% Jewish. Just remember, as Dr. Ben teaches us or reminds us, to be a Jew has nothing to do with race or religion. It's a religion. Anybody can become Jewish. You change to that faith because all of the 3 religions, as Dr. Ben points out, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they all come from Africa. So the people who call themselves Jews use the Old Testament, all in Africa. People who call themselves Christians use a book that contains the Old Testament and contains the so-called New Testament, basically with Jesus. And then if you're Muslim, you have the Quran, which has 3 parts. The Old Testament from Africa, the Christian, so-called Christian Bible, and then it adds on Muhammad. They're all African religion, has nothing to do with race. So we get that clear for those who we decide to remind us of them. So, okay, so we're talking about the capital is Jerusalem, population 10 million, the official language is Hebrew, the continent is Asia, and it was made an independent country by the people running Israel and the UN on May 4th, 1948. Population is 73 to 75% Jewish by religion. The Arab Sunni is 21% and others are 6%. The Jewish population, according to the statistics, that if we were to go there and then look at the people who are living there, they say that the population, Jewish population, those people who are practicing Judaism, is 45 to 48% of the population. The Ashkenazi person who's practicing in it is European. They're 33 to 45%. And the smaller population is Ethiopian, like Dr. Ben, Indian. So when you look at Israel, it's the size of New Jersey with a population of 10 million. Basically, any industrialization, factories, technology, highways were put there by those countries that invested to build up Israel. Looks as modern as most cities around it. And which groups of people built it up? It was primarily the United States and European. Okay, so you ask the question, how could a country the size of New Jersey with 10 million make war on a big country like Iran? Let's go through the middle. The people, the human beings who call themselves Jewish, they come from a number of areas. They come from North Africa, Middle East, that's that term, Central Asia, they're Spanish, and they come from Turkey. So when you see TV and you see the people who are on the television and all on your different media, you see almost that Ashkenazi, the white Jew, the white human beings who call themselves Jewish, they run Israel, even though they only make up 30% of the population. Okay, now on this page, we're pretty much finishing because we'll get into it. You look on this corner, and then I'm just reviewing a brief history of how Israel became Israel. It says Balfour Agreement. What it means is that after World War I, when World War I was concluded in 1917 or 1918, and you look on that map where Israel is located, where Iran is located, you will see an area they call the Middle East. No such thing as the Middle East. It's the western, southwestern part of Asia. Again, because we don't have a map, I didn't give you a map, we gotta talk it out and imagine. Okay. The Balfour, after World War I was concluded, a country called Turkey, which sided with Germany, lost the war. Who did they lose the war to? To the British and to the French. That area you call the Middle East, that you look at a map and you see Israel, and you look at all those countries that you call Arab countries, Saudi Arabia, and a number of other countries. That peninsula was under the control of the Turks up until 1970. So that area where Israel is there was under the Turks. Gotta go back to the history, but I gotta just illustrate. Turks lost the war, and the English and the French were the dominant European countries that took control of that area you call the Middle East. Here it says Sykes-Picot, 1916 agreement. Balfour Agreement was the British now controlling that area you call the Middle East, that area where Israel is. When the Turks lost the war, the French and the English went in and they took control of it. And the Balfour Agreement was one of the prime ministers in Britain that says, we're going to give to the Jewish people a part of that area you now call the Middle East. So that physical area that Israel now occupies was given to the Jewish people by the British in 1917 for homeland. That area contained human beings living there already. That's how Israel was created, by the British in 1917. Israel declared independence in 19, I'm going to get the exact date that they declared their independence. May the 4th, 1948. What they did was, the European Jews moved in, human beings from Europe, under the Jewish religion, came into the area, took the land, and displaced the indigenous people who were on it. The easiest analogy is the same thing that happened here when the Europeans came and began to start eliminating, killing the indigenous people. That's how Israel was created. Now, let's go to the first page. So I'm trying to give you a verbal picture of where Israel is, how they got created, and who lives there. So when you hear Israel, you think of a small country the size of New Jersey. In that part of Asia, you got to pick up a map that contains human beings who practice the religion, the Jewish religion, and a third of them who now live in what is Israel are white Europeans that come out of Europe. Netanyahu is Polish, but Israel contains Europeans, they contain people of color and people of Asia. Why do I bring this up? Is to let you know that there's a war going on. In this war between the United States and Israel against Iran, because the United States is a strong military power. When you look at the history of Israel, everything that Israel uses, trucks, cars, airplanes, everything was manufactured in the United States of America. Before we go to the page, to give you a quick brief. The British, Israel basically functions as a military base to the Europeans. The British put them there. The Russians said it was okay. Why did the British put there? When you look at the United States and they say, oh, United States has 600 military bases all around the world. Why do you have military bases all around the world? Because you put your military there so that you can interfere with people, so that you will be able to shape the area and you'll be able to control it. So Israel was put there by the British. And it was the British and the United States And Israel worked with them when they were trying to take control of the Suez Canal. So Israel was part of the English and the Americans when they were trying to take the control of the Suez Canal. Let's jump up to Iran. Let's see how Israel fits into Iran. At the time of World War I, the Europeans especially began to look at the Middle East and say, look at all of this oil. Oil is very, very important. And when you look at the bottom of the page, I'm chopping it up, but to give you enough so that you can begin to look at it. If you look at the bottom of your first page, oil is used for transportation. Gasoline is 44%, for commerce, for military, for the electricity, for industry, for fertilizer. Oil is so important that when the Europeans were able to finally get into that part of Asia after beating the Turks, they used to, their warships and commercial ships used to use coal. Now you can use oil. So the British, the French, and then now the United States are in that West Asian area the same way they're in Africa. What are they after in that area? Why U.S. have so many military bases? They're after the oil. That's why they're after the oil. So the United States began to become the dominant power in the area in the 1940s. So the United States displaced the British, and that's why the United States put in so many military bases to control the oil. So how did the United States get there? After World War I, the Turks lost, the British went in. After World War I and then World War II, the British is going down, the United States is coming there, but the United States and Britain uses Israel as a military base. So when they're able to attack Iran presently, and you hear they have the United States and Israel attacking. Israel is used, like the British used, as a junior partner in the war. So when you hear the joint attack, everything militarily, logistics and everything, the United States supplies Israel. Israel, as they describe it, is the biggest military base there. So by having Israel there, the United States can store what they need to help them in the area. Around the British, when they were there, around 1930s, the British was extracting and stealing oil out of Iran. 1930s. The Iranian people put in the prime minister to run Iran to control the oil. 1930-31. United States and Britain made a coup, knocked out the Iranian minister, and they put in the Shah of Iran. For a certain period of time, the Shah of Iran worked with the United States, Britain, and Israel. So when you look at Iran, what's the history of the United States, Britain, and then as Israel helped, was to steal the oil. That's the connection between Britain, and that's the connection between the United States and Israel being a junior partner, their assistant. So you say, well, what is the history of the United States and Iran? Stealing Iranian oil up until 1979, when the indigenous people of Iran made a coup and displaced the British and they displaced the US. So the United States has been stealing with Iran, with Britain, the Iranian oil. Israel helped to suppress the people. The British Secret Service, the US Secret Service, and the Israelis Secret Service, they all work to suppress the Iranian people. In the 30s, up until 1979, they had the revolution. They kicked out the United States, Britain, and Israel. 1979. 1 year later, the United States worked with Iraq to attack Iran. So around 1930 or 1900, 1949, 1930, 79, 1940, there was an Iraq-Iran war. So United States, Britain, and Israel worked to initiate a war against Iran for 8 years. So when you look at the history, you're saying, well, what's the connection between the United States, Britain, and Israel to Iran? They were stealing the oil until they were pushed out. That's the connection, the oil. Now, when you look at the so-called Middle East in that area, Iran is the only country in that area big enough, Asian country. The British don't belong there. The United States don't belong there. And Israel don't belong there. So these are people intruding into Asia, dealing with the oil of all of these countries. So that's the connection that the United States has, and Israel is a junior partner with them. Let's go to this first page. Here, again, apologize, we don't have the map. In 1974, 75, the British was there and the United States was there. You had a lot of these human beings you call Arabs living in that area. So when you hear countries that I'm going to call Bahrain, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Syria, United Arab Emirates. These are countries now when you look on the map. But when you look back at the history, these countries, they were individual grouping of Arabs working dispersed. So when the British came in, they took each of these groups and took the group and said, you're going to be a country, you're going to be a country, you're going to be a country, you're going to be a country. So these countries, names that you see, the British and the US put them in control. You got a country here, you got a country here, and you got a country here. And they started what they call the petrodollar. What is the petrodollar? Starting in 1944, with each of these countries that are listed. And why do we list these countries? Because of the war that is now going on. Since the late part of February, Iran has bombed all of these countries. Now, why would and I'm jumping back and forth trying to get concepts and ideas without the maps. Why would Iran bomb these countries? Then you go back and say, why did the United States and Israel attack on February the 28th of 2026. Why would they attack? The basic reason is in that whole area right now, Iran being a large country physically, adhesive country, they're like Egypt. They've been around 2,000, almost 3,000 years. These people are foundational. So in order for United States, so each of these countries you see, they were created by the United States. So here are these Arabs here. So let's hook these people up, they hook them all up to make these little states. Half of these countries here are not countries, as you know, they are families that were put there. And the United States said to Saudi Arabia, 1944, and when they created these countries here, they said to them, the United States said to them, you have all of this oil. They're all on land with this oil. The United States wants it. So they said to this Baham family, to this Arab family, you are now a country. I'll give you this area. This area, we will come in, the United States and Britain, we will come in and drill for the oil. It's in your area, it's in your territory, but we're going to drill for the oil. So the United States had to think of a scheme. 1944. We got to go back to Bretton Woods. And what they told each of these Arab countries, look, you're a country now, but you got to be afraid of Iran. You got to be afraid of Turkey. You got to be afraid of Israel. You're in the dangerous, remember the war just ended. Now even though we made you these little countries, you can't defend yourself. We will defend you. You set you up, we will defend you. We will come, take the oil out, and take it away to the United States and Britain. But now that we put you here as so-called little countries, you must sell the oil globally in US dollars. So we're going to prepare how the US dollar got there. So when the oil is being sold, the countries will have to use US dollars. So when the country buys the oil, they have to give these Arab countries, they'll give them, here's the oil comes out, the United States and Britain takes it away, they enumerate the oil. Oh, you got so much oil. The oil that you sell to different countries, it only can be sold using the US dollar. This is the petrodollar. Why? Because in order for you to buy the oil, you need to get US dollars. Where are you going to get US dollars from? The United States. Okay? So you sell the oil, and the country's buying the oil. This country wants to buy the oil. But in order to buy the oil, it has to give this Arab country US dollars, these pieces of paper. And where are these countries going to get the US dollars from? They got to get them from the United States.
World Bank?
World Bank or wherever, they got to get them from the United States. So in order to buy the oil, he wants to buy the oil. He has to come to the United States to get the US dollar. So he comes to the United States with the US dollar, and he gives this US dollar, okay, he wants to buy it. I'm an Arab country. I have the oil. You want to buy this oil? You got to use the US dollar. Where am I going to get the US dollar? You get it from the United States. So the white man gives you the US dollar. When he gives you the US dollar, you go, you made this, you give the oil, I give you the oil, and you give me the US pieces of paper.
Right.
This paper, United States got the oil now, right? They got the oil, and this piece of paper they tell the Arab country, all of this money that you made, you must reinvest it in the United States.
Manipulate the dollar for America.
Treasury notes, stock market, you name it, construction, banks.
For America.
So here it is, oil being pulled out of the ground. Who does the oil belong to? It belongs to whoever can take it. So these countries, they're sitting on the oil, they're selling it, United States is taking the oil back, now United States is getting the oil. These people don't need the oil. And in order to do that, they had to get the US dollar. So in other words, he wants to buy oil, I'm the Arab country, he gives me this money. And the oil is sold, they have to use the US dollar, and US dollar is putting it. So from 1944 up until about now, if oil can only be sold by US dollar, you gotta come to the United States to get this.
Get the money.
To get this paper. And while the United States is giving you the paper, they're taking the oil away. This paper, you cannot come to US to buy anything from me. You must take this dollar and invest in my stock market. Okay? So United States get the oil, it's sold, they give the US dollar, and then all this money is reinvested. So right now, these Arab countries have hundreds of billions of dollars invested in the United States stock market, United States banks,
Real estate.
And the United States is getting the oil, and because you have to have dollars to buy oil, you can never take these dollars and bring it back to the United States to buy anything. That's the petrodollar. And then they tell the Arabs, oh, we'll protect you from Iran, we'll protect you from Turkey, we'll protect you from Israel. Now, in this particular case, when Israel, in February, when Israel and the United States attacked Iran, why are they attacking Iran? Because Iran is a big country, a powerful country, and in order to dominate it, they got to get rid of it. Okay? So United States they tell you here they get about 20 US bases. So the petrodollar is these Arab families selling oil to China, selling oil to everybody. And in order for China or whoever want to buy the oil, China's got to come to the United States for dollars.
Clever.
So
They
United
say China is running everything.
Well,
Dominated.
so that's the petrodollar. The petrodollar is that these states that you have seen listed there, they were put there by the British in the US. They extract the oil comes to the British in the US. And for countries who want to buy their oil, China wants to buy this oil, China has to come to the United States to get dollar. That's how the United States economy has been, is pretty much structured. What Iran, and I'm jumping around, what Iran did when Israel and the United States attacked Iran. Why? Just like they did to Libya. Syria, you attack, you destroy the country so it can't function.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Okay? It's the same way we as African people here, make sure the jobs they get is not enough money to take care of your family adequately. Make sure they can't get loans. Make sure they get caught into the credit card trap. The whole bit that is put in place to lock you down.
Absolutely.
And that's what the petrodollar is to lock down the area. So here the United States is getting all this oil. Countries who want to buy oil from the Arabs, they got to come to United States to get the paper. And then after the Arabs sell them the oil, then they have to take all that money and stuff and put it back in the United States. Okay. So when Iran was attacked by the United States in Israel, the bases that the United States used, you see these list of Arab countries? All of those Arab countries have military bases, U.S. military bases, all stocked together. So when the United States and Israel began to attack Iran, they used the air base from Saudi Arabia. They used, every one of these countries have U.S. military bases. And Iran says,
Okay.
we know why you're doing this. So Iran started attacking these bases, hitting their oil, hitting their facilities, and say, when you cannot be part of the neighborhood living with us.
Absolutely.
And you got U.S. bases, and to destroy Iran, United States needs these U.S. bases.
And they attacking them.
So in other words, Iran says to these Arab countries, the United States wouldn't be able to attack us if it wasn't for you, because all of that stuff they pre-positioned. So it's like these Arab countries are working with the United States to attack Iran. So Iran is now attacking them. And what Iran wants to do, I think they have about 20 U.S. bases. Iran is in the process of attacking these Arab countries that give U.S. bases. And so what Iran is doing in Iraq is, let's say the United States has 20 military bases. They're bombing all of them out.
Iran is bombing.
Iran is bombing those U.S. military bases. So let's say you have 20 U.S. bases, the massive radar and everything. They're destroying everything.
Take it out.
Because they're fighting back.
They're destroying everything. So what Iran wants to do, just like the Sahel nation, remember Burkina Faso, Mali, what's the first thing they did when they made the coup? They kicked out the people who were hindering them. Who did the three nations? They kicked out all white people.
French.
The U.S. with the satellite, which was taking a view of it. So they kicked out U.S. base. They kicked out the French. They kicked out the UN. They kicked out the European Union. And all of the European aid thing. So they say, in order for you to start building the country strong, they kicked out all these people. And then what did they do? They decided to go to countries that are willing to trade with them, Russia, China, and other world, to build us up militarily strong. So now, the Sahel nations do not have to worry about French military bases around them to attack them. You get rid of them.
Clean house.
So all of these military bases that United States have troops, radar, everything, right there, they're destroying all of them. And one of the demands that Iran is putting down to end the war is that when United States, I'm only repeating what I hear. United States wants to make, they want to stop the war. Let's just say they want to. Why would you want to stop the war? Well,
Economy.
part of it is Iran is saying, look, they were stealing our oil in the 30s and the 40s.
And the 50s.
They in the 50s. And they made a war against us with Iraq. You put a sanction on us. You do everything to bring us down since the 1940s. So like they're saying now that they have certain advantages militarily, they want to destroy all the U.S. bases, and they don't want any built back. In other words, you're getting rid of the problem like the Sahel nations did. That's what they're in the process.
Terminate.
Okay? That's what they are trying to do at this point. That's their aim. When you look at Iran and you look at these countries, it's like, here's Iran, and you have all of these small countries between Iran and the Indian Ocean. You ever heard the Straits of Hormuz? When you hear the Straits of Hormuz, is that in that area of the world, there's a vast amount of oil, like a big puddle, massive puddle. So the British and the United States went in and said, my goodness, let's take these little Arab families and make them all little countries. And then let them sell the oil in US dollars and repatriate. So basically, the United States has military bases in that area to help attack Iran. They're getting the oil, and they're getting these Arab countries to invest the profits. But here's something that is going wrong with this. These countries here
Hold on, so this way you stay right in front so the camera hold up, Doc.
Now, here's Iran. You see Africa, right? In this area, it's got about, they say, 30 or 40% of oil. The thing is, the oil is right there. So here's Iran. And you see, when you look on the paper, those 6 or 7 Arab countries, they were created by the United States. Most of them are families. They don't have democracy. And they got them to say, look, I'll put you in charge. You make sure the oil is sold by the US dollar to keep the US dollar strong. You make sure that you repatriate all of that money back to the United States to make us strong. And we'll protect you from those bad Iranians, and we'll protect you from others. When the war broke out recently, Iran struck each of these countries. And each of these countries went to the United States and said, look, we invested hundreds of billions of dollars in your economy to keep you protection racket, right? But yet when the war broke out, you didn't protect us. The United States, they say, is running short of missiles. And as they were running short with missiles, I'm repeating what I read, I'm seeing, and I keep up. I said, who the hell is Dr. Lewis? He wasn't there. Yes, I'm just telling you what I pick up and what they're saying. Okay. So these Arab countries, so Iran says, look, the United States and Israel are attacking us. These Arab countries are co-belligerent because they got military bases there that the United States used. Now that Iran uses missiles, we'll get into that. So Iran is attacking these countries, destroying this and destroying that, and these countries pick up the phone to the United States. Why the hell are we selling the oil in dollars to keep your economy strong and then reinvest it to keep your economy strong? You were supposed to protect them. They can't protect them. You can't protect them. You can't protect against these missiles. So Iran basically is fighting a missile war. They don't need airplanes. So these countries now got together. They don't call the Arab countries, call a big conference. What are we going to do? We're selling the US dollar, oil in US dollar, make US strong. We reinvested the money. They're supposed to protect us. The United States can't protect them. Then when the United States was running short of the oil, of the missiles, they went to Japan Japan and say, you see, those missiles that I have in your country to protect you, took it from Japan to Israel, took it from South Korea, took it from Philippines, and so all these countries, the South Koreans, the Japanese, the Filipinos say, oh, these were put here to protect us. Why are you taking them away to protect Israel? So now these countries are saying, wait now. This is a scam. So you know what they're meeting now? They're now saying that United States, they're realizing that United States is incapable of protecting them because United States can't protect itself because most of their bases have been bombed out. So they met and said, look, what are we going to do?
It's a good time to break.
One of the things they're going to do, they said, maybe we won't sell the oil in dollars. Because the deal was, we sell it in dollars to keep the U.S. economy strong. We reinvest the dollars back to the United States to keep the stock market.
Exactly.
You can't protect us. Maybe we got to find somebody else. You know how many hundreds of billions of dollars that used to come from these Arab countries that come here for your stock market and banks? It ain't coming here no more.
They ain't coming to us.
That's the main point that I want to emphasize to you, the repercussions of what is happening, not so much to find out where Iran is and stuff. You understand what's going on?
Absolutely.
Now, so they're now talking. They can't protect us. If you live in Asia, look, just like you see the Sahel nations getting together, Asia, you see this Asia, the Asians are blocking together. The most powerful Asian countries, militarily and economically, are Russia, China, and Iran. Russia and China are assisting Iran. Okay?
Beautiful.
So the same way that the African countries are confederating, getting rid of the French, getting rid of the English, getting rid of the United States, they're cleaning house. The Asians are cleaning house because the United States is trying to block, you heard of BRICS, right?
Yeah.
The BRICS are the BRICS, they're 10 BRICS members and about 15 partners. So you have you have almost 30 countries, all blocking, they're all non-white countries, and they all have a common history. Remember when the white man always talk about the what you call it when they left? In colonialism. What the French, see how they wiped down the indigenous people here? Knock them out in Canada, kill tens of millions of us in Africa, to over 200 million people in India, tens of millions. The whole world has suffered from white people, European people. Now that's coming to a close. So the point is that the big, powerful countries, militarily, economically, and politically, just like in Africa, we've mentioned 4 different regions that's blocking and getting stronger. In Asia, they have what they call a Shanghai Cooperative Organization and BRICS. Basically, and we'll provide that later, basically, it's the Asians getting together as Asians. Because they suffered just like Africa, China, India, the same thing. The world suffered in the last 200 or 300 years. So now BRICS, which is those countries, I'll give it to you the next time, and the Shanghai Cooperative Country. All of these Asian countries are blocking as Asian countries. No more white. The Africans are now blocking as African countries. So this war represents the fact that Iran now is warring and saying, I have attacked all you Arab countries that facilitated you co-belligerent with the United States. And I'm destroying all U.S. bases bases. Iraq, so they're destroying it. And one of the conditions that they say the Iranians are saying, they say Trump don't want to stop the war. They said we ain't stopping it.
He said we got a deal.
No, what they're saying is, when we finish,
We stop it when it's over.
there going to be no European, no English, no American bases. Okay? They're cleaning the damn house. The people who should run the area are the people who live there. The Turks, the Iranians, the Pakistani. Why the hell do you have the United States have 20 bases, bombing people, killing people?
All over the world.
Because that aspect of European colonialism is coming to a close. So Iran's, one of the goals they said, they're going to bomb out Israel and destroy everything for them never to come back. Nobody wants that. So that's what they're in the process of doing. Bombing these Arab countries that are co-belligerent with bases in the United States and destroying all of the U.S. bases. Now, Iran
Hallelujah.
has China and Russia backing it. Militarily, according to what they're saying, the biggest problem that the United States and Israel has is they run out of missiles. They say that some of these missiles, the United States only make 500 a year. Trying to make that in less than a month. See, Russia and China has a very powerful industrial base because the United States and European moved everything over.
Yeah.
That accelerated it. Russia never got rid of its industrial base.
That's some old stuff, huh?
The European people, the bankers and stuff, to save money, de-industrialize the country. So now, if you're talking about countries that can produce weapons, it's Russia, China, and Iran.
The factories.
So Iran is fighting the war with missiles. They've been prepared for the last 20 or 30 years. They got tens of thousands. So now they're saying that Iran is bombing these bases and Israel. They can't stop it. Okay? So can you imagine Iran having 10, 15, 20,000 missiles? Then China has thousands of missiles. Between the three countries, they probably got about 200,000 or 300,000 missiles. And Israel's already out, the United States is out. So these are the concepts I want you to look at. Now you go online and I'll give you some, if you're interested. I'll give you a few links and then you just pick up your links. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. When I was in the South Pacific, 1979, 80, and the people in Vanuatu were fighting the British and the French, and the United States wanted to intervene in the Vanuatu and the island said, if you come in, we all arm and we're going to go have a full-scale war. It's beautiful to see your people getting rid of people who came there and exterminated you.
It's a good thing.
It's wonderful. So what's happening in this war, it was an attack by the United States and Israel, from February 28th to 29th. Up to this point, they're saying Iran is bombing Israel and bombing these Arabs at will. They're beginning to shoot down the plane. Now, remember, if we don't get to anything else, remember about the U.S. What makes the U.S. strong is the fact that people are using the dollar and the dollar is being reinvested. If these Arab countries say we're not going to invest anymore because you didn't protect us, so you have the potential loss at the end of this war of all the U.S. military bases can be lost. So the United States president is going to be out. And if these Arab countries stop sending hundreds of billions of dollars back here. Those are the two major things. Now, You see, Iran, all these 6 or 7 or 8 Arab countries, they're all located here. They're all in this area. Okay? You see this waterway? That's where 25% of the oil that leaves this area comes down through the Straits of Hormuz. Okay? The oil that comes out, there are 3 things that come out: oil, gas, and fertilizer. 20 or 25%. Who needs this? All of your Asian countries, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Southeast Asia, India, and Europe. Africa don't need it. These countries, so what the Iranians have done is they blocked it up. They say we're not letting 20 to 25% of the oil, the gas, and the fertilizer, 20 that the world needs. They block it.
Farmers need it.
But the countries that need it most is the Asians. It's Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Southeast Asia, India, and the Europeans. So the Iranians say, all I do is I just listen to the internet. I ain't got no, Dr. Lewis got some, I ain't got nothing anybody else. That they're blocking it. They say, we're not letting through the gas, the oil, or the fertilizer. We're blocking it. So now the Japanese, the South Koreans, the Filipinos, and everybody asks the United States, you start a war? You don't come, you don't talk with us? What the hell is going on? You're hurting our economy. Plus, this is where the Europeans were getting a lot of their gas and their oil from this area when they didn't do Russia. So who's really hurting are the Asians, Japanese, Taiwanese.
So when it went through, where did they come back down?
All of these countries here, they're little countries all along here. And they pour and they fill up the tankers, come in, they pick up the thing and go out. Come in and go out. And right here, Iran say, ain't nothing coming in and out. Nothing. Iran says, any country who wants, first they said, Israel is not going, nothing's coming out here for Israel, nothing's coming out for the United States. Nothing's coming out for Europe.
Especially. No matter.
But Iran says, we'll let other countries the oil through.
That's right.
If they sell oil in Chinese yuan. What's the biggest thing that's going to hurt the United States? Is right now, if the whole world stopped using US dollars, this place would collapse.
It stops the economy.
So, that petrodollar, when it first started in 1944, 90% of the countries had to use the dollar. Now it's down to maybe 50 or 60. So every time less people are using the US dollar to buy oil, it's like you losing, you got 5 jobs. And you lose one, you're going to get hurt. You lose 2. So the United States needs the fact that countries to buy the oil in dollars because they got to come to the United States to get the dollars. So what Iran is saying is, you want to get oil out? Japan. You want to get oil out? Taiwan. You want to get oil out, India? Stop buying the oil in dollars and buy it in Chinese yuan. Okay?
What is this?
They're gonna break the economy here and force and make China strong and America weak.
Okay. That's the whole point of this talk. Is to let you understand what is going to come at the end of this is that these U.S. military bases will be wiped away.
Never come back.
And United States economy potentially is going to be down. So they're saying to Japan, you want the oil to come out? Don't buy it in dollars, buy it in yuan. Taiwan, so Iran is doing its part.
To break the American
There you go.
currency.
And you make it at a discount too, right?
And you stop America from being so strong with Donald Duck in the White House and do all this craziness. Because that's the linchpin, military forces all over the world.
Exactly. In other words, you are living in the end of the European colonialism in the last 200 years that went around the world, killing tens of millions of people.
It's devil.
The most important thing here is that this is what's happening here. They're knocking out, they're cutting down, they're knocking out all the U.S. military facilities, number one, and they're blocking up the oil. Now all these countries can't get the oil, they don't put pressure on the United States. Okay? So, what Iran said, if we'll let you, they said the Straits of Hormuz is not closed, it's open, but it only open to certain people. It's not open to the US, it's not open to Israel, not open to Europe. Okay? And they say Japan, let's say conceptually so that nobody say I say it or you say. Conceptually they're saying, we'll let some of the oil come out so you can run your thing, but you can't buy it in dollars. You gotta buy it in the Chinese yuan.
Exactly. To break the American
Okay,
economy.
so Iran is running multi-purpose. Get rid of United States military bases so they can't hurt you anymore. Break the dollar. They telling the United States you gotta take all these sanctions off of us.
Exactly.
And why is that? Because of the fact that these are industrial countries, South Korea, Japan, India. If they don't get the oil and stuff, they're going to be in the world economy is going to be in bad shape, okay? That is the nutshell of what it is that I want to get across.
And that's Japan, Asia, and where? Japan.
It's Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan.
India.
Okay? Now, that is the main thing, that the point that I want to get over at this particular point. Oil is critical. You can't run a society in the back. You can't run it on a solar panel. Transportation, 44% oil. Commerce, to do business. The military. United States is only 2% of the world's population, and they use 20% of the world's oil. Why? The military. If they couldn't, the reason they're using 22% is because they got a massive military. So let's go. Transportation, gasoline, commerce, military, electricity, industrial, plastic, fertilizer, gas, oil. You can't run a country without these things. You got to have it. So the point of the discussion here, if we don't leave with anything else, is that Iran is able to hit these countries, all the U.S. military bases in Israel, because they have tens of thousands of missiles. Okay? Tens of thousands of missiles. The United States don't report on it, and there's a censure over in Israel. And as an American citizen, I'm an American citizen. I'm only talking as a human being, as a citizen of the United States, and as an African. I have a right to talk as an African and a citizen. I'm not talking against the United States. I'm not talking for the United States. I'm just talking. It's as simple as that. We just exchanging information.
First Amendment.
We know what happened with the COVID. Did the 2 or 3, they took it off the next day. So you don't think that they don't listen to you.
Next day they took it off 20 minutes later.
20 minutes later. So I'm not here. Look, things are not going well for certain groups of people here. So all I'm doing is repeating what I pick up. Whether somebody says right or wrong, I'm not speaking against, I'm not speaking for.
You're educating us.
Okay? So that's the main thing that's happening at this war.
So it's breaking the United States' power globally.
What Iran's saying, they say they gave a partial list. One, they want reparation. All of that destruction the U.S. made, we want you to pay for it. Number one. Second, the Iranians are trying to encourage people to buy the oil in yuan, Chinese, instead of the dollar. Okay? In the United States, they saying and Israel are not capable of stopping Iran from bombing the countries. Those are the key things that is happening at this particular point. Now, you can read, so this first sheet is essentially that, okay? You can look over the sheet, you're interested in it, then you can get a little more detail. Let's go to, we went through Israel. Okay, so on question and answer, we can get into more detail. I want you to go to this third page. It basically is to give you the information. Say, look at, if you're interested, here's a way to start looking and educating yourself a little more. There's a lot of things I'm not interested in that I don't put the time in. Everybody puts the time. I just wanted to let you know that. The last page here is this, you see this page here?
Israel history.
No. It says here, up here, San Francisco. It should be the third staple page.
The last page?
No, it's second.
It's the last page, I think.
It's the second page, Doc.
Okay, it's the second page. Okay, now,
Page 2.
when you look here, you see over here, it says San Francisco.
Yes.
I'm just going through the foundation of how the United States set up the world. Britain was going down, United States was coming up as the dominant country. After World War II, 1944, the United States came out the strongest military, they came out the strongest economic, and they set up the politics. How did United States, what three things did United States set up to dominate the world after World War II? Just like the rest of them. Politically, the UN, they created the UN. Militarily, they built up a big military. And they created what do you call it, the European NATO. And they set up the control of the money. The control of economic money was using the US dollar, IMF, and World Bank. So that's what we're dealing with here.
Page 2.
No, you don't got it, you don't got it.
Okay, you got it in here. If not, go back and get one of the other ones and see. I may have missed it. Go back and get one of the other ones.
Yeah, say San Francisco.
So what do we want to leave you with in this third page?
Well, what's San Francisco?
Say what again?
Well, you have San Francisco on top of me.
Okay, I'm going to tell you that as soon as he gets it.
Yeah.
World, you have to understand, the United States came out of World War II, the dominant power. And they say, how are we going to control the world? Economically, IMF and World Bank, and trade.
Financial, industrial.
Politically, IMF and World Bank is the economics. They created the UN to control you politically. And they made a very strong military with the European Union, what they call it, NATO. three things United States put together after when they came out of the world as the dominant. Militarily, a large military, and NATO. Economically, IMF and World Bank. The debt, just like all of us is in debt.
In debt.
The same, like we're all in debt with these credit cards, that's what the IMF and World Bank is, the debt trap for the world.
Right.
Okay, and that's just the way it is. Economically, IMF and World Bank. Politically, the United Nations. And militarily, it's a big military. Okay? Now, we're winding down so that we can spend the time, if you want, question and answers. Okay, now, you see this page, San Francisco. What happened here? The World War II is winding down. 1940s, 43, 44. United States is already the dominant. The British, World War I and II. Who were the, let's take 1900. 1900, 1940s, 1960s. You see the way we're working up? 1900. United States was killing off the indigenous people. They were stealing Mexican oil. They were stealing Venezuelan oil. They were robbing every Caribbean country blind. You know, you look it up. Sugar from this one. What they call the military man, War's a Racket.
Butler, Smedley.
Smedley Butler, when we read War's a Racket, he tells you, we were stealing oil from Mexico. We were stealing oil from Venezuela. We were stealing this one's banana. The United States was fabulously rich in agriculture and oil. You're stealing it from China. You're stealing it from Venezuela. You're stealing it from Mexico. You got all these rich, fabulous countries. You got food and everything. So Smedley Butler says that. War's a racket. Then he tells you that besides raping the Caribbean and parts of Central and South America, they began to go overseas and they took Hawaii from the indigenous African people. Look up Hawaii and you'll see who's there. Then they went in and started messing with Philippines, Philippine War. So they took Hawaii as a thing. Then they went into the Philippines, fought a bitter war, and then they hooked up with their cousins in the two opium wars. There were two opium wars. You look up 1840-something and 1860-something. First, what's the name of the war? The first opium war. Then the British and the United States pushing into China with the drugs and for other reasons. Then the 1860s, the British, the United States, and then the French began to push the drugs in China, to break into China. It was at that time that the French were going into Vietnam.
French Connection.
Okay? So the United States was just beginning to build their empire. They built the empire by killing off the indigenous people, taking this rich land, and African people developing it. Then you take Mexican oil, then you take Venezuela's oil, you take this from Cuba, you take that, you take this from the Philippines, then you go into China.
They went all over the world.
That's what they were doing. So United States around 1900 was just beginning to build their colonialism. Okay? At that time, which countries were stronger than the United States economically, militarily, and politically? Those are the three, economically. Japan was big. Japan was militarily stronger and had a big industrial base. France was militarily stronger, big industrial base. England was. Russia was. Japan was. China was. Africa was. When you talk about the power that the United States has now, there were at least 6 or 7 countries around the turn of the century, 1900, when Smedley Butler is telling you The United States is building its power militarily, economically, and politically. Japan, China, Russia, Germany, Britain, France, they were all stronger. But because those countries were fighting with each other, a lot of it had to do was fighting over Africa. That's why they fought over Africa from the theft, that they had to call a Berlin Conference and say, we got to stop killing each other and let us cut it up so everybody get a piece. So the point I'm making is 1900, that's 100. United States became the dominant power economically, militarily, and politically. Only after World War I and World War II, those major countries, they destroyed each other. So the United States is now coming out as the dominant colonial country in 1944. France is gone. Britain is gone. Russia is decimated. India is under the British. The Chinese are being ravished by the English, the French, and the U.S. So around 1944, as the World War II is winding down, the United States is the only industrial country that's making things on a large scale that's not being bombed out. And so the United States, these white people who run and say, look, we got it made. Got a massive country called the United States of America. We got tens of millions of African people who are geniuses, who are making all kinds of inventions.
You're not getting paid.
They grow all the damn food. The European, the next time I come, I'll show you all the family. Europeans know how to do no rice and potatoes and the rice and all of the food that was grown here. They didn't have it. So the United States is now coming out as a dominant country, militarily, economically. There are three things that the United States put in place to dominate the world. Now, what's the world? Militarily, they had a big army, bigger than anybody else's because their army was building and everybody else's army was down. They had an industrial base. And they say, how are we going to control the world politically? The United Nations, okay? And that's what we're going to go through here quickly. San Francisco, so now the war's winding down. The people who are now running America said, we need a conference to set up a United Nations politically so we can control politically. We need a strong military, and we need to be able to control the world politically. So San Francisco is when these 5 countries came out of it. Who were the so-called founders of the United Nations? It was United States, white country run, Britain, and France. They're 2 empires. Nationalist China, Chiang Kai-shek, and the Soviet Union. So the so-called 5 major ones who get credit for developing the United Nations is China, Nationalist China, Chiang Kai-shek, not France, Soviet Union, United States, and, okay, United States, Soviet Union, Nationalist China, and England, France, and Britain. Those are the countries that so-called signatures. Russia, the Soviet Union was a big conglomerate. France, they still had colonies in Africa to keep them going. The UK had colonies. So why am I showing this? Is that the white people run the United States said, we're going to have us a conference to determine, to set up the political way we're going to control the rest of the world. Remember, 95% of the world is not white. So who's coming out here? You got white England, white France, white control United States. Yeah.
Who controlled Africa at the time? Somebody black?
Say what again?
Who was controlling Africa at that time?
It's here. We're going to get to it. Okay? Okay. Now, so there are 5 signatures. In here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, about 40 countries. United States had a meeting in San Francisco to set up the United Nations. That's what said. So where did the United States call this conference to set up the United Nations? In San Francisco.
I thought it was in New York.
No, San Francisco. And then you notice the Bretton Woods, what they call it, the Bretton Woods, correct? That set up the political. That was the United Nations was officially. So what they did is they went to San Francisco, they started developing the United Nations, said now we're going to put in a structure, make the rules and regulations, but we also now have to control them economically. And Bretton Woods,
New Hampshire.
pardon me?
New Hampshire.
Yeah, New Hampshire. So they had, that year, 44, they had 2 major conferences. We got to set up the United Nations to control. We're going to write the rules and regulate, and we got to set up the Bretton Woods is how we're going to control and then read it. Okay, now, these are the countries that sat in were the signatures of the United Nations. Okay? These are the ones with these 5 who actually signed on. Correct? You understand what this is? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now, let's go through it. She has an excellent question. You're sitting down, this conference, but which of these countries most of these countries here were colonies of these countries.
Wow.
You see all these countries that sat down and signed?
Yeah.
They weren't independent. So let's go through it. Argentina, under the dominance of the United States. Australia, you know Australia, white people came over, knocked us off. So at this point, Australia is run by who? English people. You ever see people on TV, they're white. The British, they killed us down in Australia. So Australia was in the process of the English killing us down, and Australia is a colony of UK. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Australia is a colony of Great Britain. You understand that, right? Mm-hmm. Belarus. Belarus is a white country that was under the control of Russia. Belgium. World War II. In the World War II, most of Europe is under the dominance of the United States. Okay? Belgium was free. Then Bolivia, another South American country under the United States as a semi-colony.
Who was running Belgium, Doctor?
Say that again?
Who was running Belgium?
If you look after World War II, the major military power was the United States and Russia. So all of the countries there were under United States or Russia, literally.
And Belgium was under...
Belgium, you would put them under United States. Okay? Brazil, same thing, under the United States. Canada. Canada is what? Controlled by the French came there and the English, but the English are running Canada at this time. So that Canada is under the control of Britain. I didn't get to designate it. Chile, under the U.S. control. Colombia, under U.S. control. Costa Rica, under the U.S. That's Medley Butler telling you, okay? Czechoslovakia, under the country of the United States. Under Russia. Russia. Let's put them under, okay. United States, Russia. Denmark. All these European countries just came out of World War II. And who was the dominant country in World War II? United States came out. And they were all subordinate to the United States. That's when they got the NATO and the European Union. So they weren't direct colonies. Dominican Republic, United States, they've been invaded. Ecuador, United States. Egypt was under the British. Egypt, if you tick off Egypt, Egypt is one of the African countries. So if you want to tick off Egypt, you can tick it off as an African country, but it was under the British. So when you see Egypt sitting there, they're not an independent Egypt. It's under the control of the British. El Salvador, United States. Ethiopia, African, right? Egypt is African, Ethiopia is African. Ethiopia was the only African country of these countries that was independent. There was no other African country at this meeting that was independent. Egypt is an African country, it was under the British. Ethiopia was an African country under African, because the Soviet Union helped Ethiopia to fight off the Italians. Greece, under the United States. Guatemala, under the United States. Haiti, under the United States. Honduras, under the United States. India was a colony of the UK. They didn't get their independence till the 40s. After India, at this meeting, was not independent yet. Iraq, not independent yet. Lebanon, well, it's under Britain, because after World War I and II, the British and the US took that area. Liberia was not independent under the United States. So you have 4 African countries. You have Liberia under the US, Egypt under the British, and Ethiopia is the only independent one. There are 4 here. Maybe we didn't get, okay. Liberia was Luxembourg, US, Mexico, United States, the Netherlands, United States, New Zealand, another country under Britain. Because New Zealand and Australia are people from Britain that went into the South Pacific. Nicaragua, US, Norway, United States, Panama, US, Paraguay, US, Peru, US. The Philippines was under the United States occupation. Poland, Soviet Union. Saudi Arabia, technically you have to say at this point Saudi Arabia was a colony of the United States. South Africa, African country, but was under white people. Okay? The Afrikaners come from Britain. So of the 4 African countries, Liberia was there, they signed, they were under US colony. Egypt was there, they were under the British. Ethiopia was there, the only African country that was independent. And South Africa was under the British, because remember, the Boers got there first. The Boers are cousins to the British, and the British came, knocked off the Boers, and made concentration camps for their cousins, the Boers, and for the Africans. Syria under the United States. Turkey lost the war. Ukraine under Russia, South America, Venezuela under the United States. So of these, whatever the nation, I think it's 44 countries. Of these 44 countries who sat down and signed this paper, these are the same countries that were represented at the UN. And they're the same countries that were represented at the Bretton Woods. The white people control it. You pull all your what do you call it? All your slaves together. This was the Bretton Woods and UN was a U.S. Britain French paper. The Russians never signed off on it. And the Chinese that signed was the nationalist China. So you got 5 countries signing. The United States is white run. France is white one, still with African colonies. The UK is got all these colonies. Russia, they were the Soviet Union, they never signed off on it. And the Chinese, Taiwan, they were under the US, the nationalist China. So United States set this up, they wrote it. So that's why I put them together. The political control of the world was the UN set up by the United States and their junior partner, France and England. NATO, militarily, it was United States and NATO. We're going to run everything, militarily. And we're going to put up the IMF and World Bank to get all of these countries in debt. It's just like me, well, I don't know about y'all, damn, I'm short of money. I'm paying the taxes and I'm doing all this, I'm sure. So I go get me a credit card.
You want to stay short.
And you're not getting out of here. You understand?
Or alone.
So when they set up the IMF, you can come for a loan. You are an African country, a Central South American country, or an Asian country that wants to develop, but you have an American, English, or French as who's controlling your country. You want a loan? Go to the IMF and World Bank. The same way that the average credit card is structured, the mortgage is structured to lock you down and you ain't getting out. That's how they control it.
From birth to death.
And those are the three major things that are still at play. You have Iran fighting off a colonial power, United States.
You're being manipulated.
Okay? You have the Sahel nations fighting off these colonial powers. You have the Sahel nations getting rid of the military bases. You have the Sahel nations don't get into debt. That's how the United States and Europe were able to control the world from 1944, 45 up to now. The military. Why do you think the United States militarily intervened? You could get the record. How many times have they militarily intervened?
All the time.
But you gotta go.
You can count them. How many tens of millions of people, Chinese, Africans, Central American, were killed by the United States in these wars?
Establish democracy.
Don't blow your time.
Okay, so that's the gist of what we were trying to point out to you. Not so much to be such a scholar, no, to let you know what happened. Now we're going to end with this section. The last page. Right now, countries are in two major blocks. The colonial bloc and the non-colonial bloc. What countries are in the colonial bloc? Well, you look up the nation of seven. The colonial countries are France, Britain, United States, Canada, Australia. Those are your colonial countries. All European white. Japan is not a colonial country today. Taiwan is not a colonial country. So the only countries now that you can look through, 194 countries, say which one had colonies. United States had, still have, the British have, the French have, the Soviet Union is another block. So right now, you have the BRICS. The BRICS, here as we wind down, here's the major things that's developing. The turn of the century, before World War I and II, and just before that, 1880 to 1944. those European colonial powers were beginning to break down. England broke down, they lost their colonies. The French broke down, they lost their colonies. United States got colonies and now losing. So the rest of the world is saying, look, you have NATO, the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is just as they say, forgot the type of club they are. But it's only a club, huh?
Rich white man.
No, there's a name for it. What do you call it when you're in a club, like you got a business? They call it a
LLC?
Yeah, limited liability. That's exactly what it is. They tell you they are limited liability corporations, and these are the people who make up the limited liability. All white countries, the same Europeans, United States, England, France, Spain, Portugal, the white colonial countries. That's what they call World Economic Forum. So right now, you have the non-white countries. All of your colonial countries, you can basically classify them as co-European. English, French, Portuguese, the classic ones.
Neo-colonial.
Now, what is the present bloc? The present bloc is who's making up, who's got BRICS, when you look up BRICS, Brazil, Russia, China, Russia, India, Brazil, and South Africa. That's BRICS. Then they got 5 more countries. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, no, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, Iran, Ethiopia, and there's another one. So you got 10 member countries. Those countries alone, you got almost half the world's population. Then you have another 12. So you got 10, you got almost 30 countries. Nigeria is part of them. That 30 non-white countries now have 30 or 40% of the world's economy. The former colonial countries, United States, England, France, they're in their 20s. So now the dominant countries, militarily, economically, are what I call non-white countries. Russia is white, but it's mixed. India, China, Iran, Nigeria. Nigeria is 200 million. Ethiopia has 1 million. Egypt. So now, that dominance you saw by European countries is gone. So it's the non-white countries, led by China, the biggest one, that have the dominant economy. And it's India, it's China, and Russia has superior weapons to the United States. So to end, Iran is now saying they don't want a truce. When Iran and Russia attacked Iran last year, after 12 days, they said that what's the name? Israel asked for a ceasefire.
They've been having, they've been bombing.
Now, the United States wants a ceasefire. Iran said, no, we're not doing a ceasefire until we sufficiently wipe out all your bases, deal with all these Arab countries.
You have reparation.
And render them.
They want reparations.
They want the oil returned that was taken from them.
So the world is changing. So,
And that's why Trump went after Venezuela for the oil.
you're right, but so what the whole purpose of this is just to show that there's a massive shift that was there before the Europeans started. The Europeans only got out to start really conquering good the last 200 years, 250 years. Now it's reversing itself. That is the gist with all these drawings and everything else. The shift that is occurring as we summarize is the non-white countries which are blocking together. They are trading with each other, not in the US dollar. They're doing it with their currency and currency swap and a number of different things. But in here, this war, what is happening here basically is that Iran has tens of thousands of missiles and they're bombing the Arab countries, all the US military based in Israel. They're saying this is an opportunity to wipe it out, to get these people out of here. And China and Russia are backing because in order, the same way that the Sahel nations block together, in order for the Asians to block together, the core four countries, the massive ones are Russia, 150 or 60 million, China, 1.4 or 1.3, India, 1.3, 1.4, Iran, 100. So when the United States is looking and seeing their thing, they say, you got between Russia, China, Iran, Russia, China, Iran, that's three. Russia, China, Iran, three Asian. South Korea, also, North Korea is also blocking with them. So these are the three major countries, China, Russia, and Iran, who have massive population, the best armies, and they have most of the technology because the United States and Europe shipped it out.
Can we talk?
Okay, so that's basically the gist of the presentation. Can't go into too much detail on any of it because we have to get you familiarized with it. It's the trend. Okay, so technically I've ended. It's 9 for anybody who wants to have
Any questions?
questions
Zoom
or
audience?
whatever it is.
Anybody from the Zoom got a question for Dr. Lewis? Anybody from the Zoom got a question for Doc?
Yes. Yeah, I got a question. I wanted to say that, how you doing, man? That was an awesome presentation. So my
What you can do is try the best you can.
Democrats.
Pardon me?
And give me a second. My take is for the elections, the next upcoming elections, that there's an independent party that's named as the Democrats, and they could have somebody like Governor Ventura, and maybe Swayze as a vice president if they're looking for their Caucasian or whatnot. But for the brothers, like for the black people, we've got like Eric Adams and even Umar Johnson or Dr. O'Connell West. So. But my take is that, I hope everything goes well with all these wars and stuff because it's affecting everything economically. But I think that a lot of times these journalists on TV, they feed into a lot of energy. And then when they feed into that energy, it keeps it snowballing now as things are avalanching. But that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time. Let me, a question in response to that would be great. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The Democrats I met, they'll be having like the Democrats and Republicans because they got a lot of issues where they acting like this party is better than the other, and they like showing it. So yeah, that's all I want to say. Thank you. Very
good. I appreciate your participation and your contribution. And we have to be you function on all levels. Politically in your neighborhood, to your mayor, to your governor, wherever you want, but you participate to do the best you can to help yourself as an African, with your family, your community, here and globally. You keep going. Any other questions, answers, comments? Yes.
Okay, you got the primary elections coming up. You got the Democrats and Republicans. You got a lot of corrupt politicians in the Senate, the Congress, the White House. You got a lot of rich people that's doing a lot of bad things. You know what needs to be done? There needs to be a full investigation of all these rich, powerful people that's doing all these bad things. Have evidence presented to them and have them put in jail. Have all those corrupt rich people put in jail. All those corrupt politicians put in jail. And have a form of party where you have people, you can screen people and investigate them that's honest, like a third and fourth party that represents the people, that represent the average human being, that's not getting money from the Jewish lobbyists, APAC, not getting money from the big pharmacy companies, not getting money from Wall Street and the big corporations.
And big pharma.
Yeah, big pharma, mention big pharma. I know it's easier said than done, but that would be a wonderful thing to do. To get all these, to expose these rich, powerful people, these rich corporations,
These hypocrites.
and have them and put them in jail. And when they go to jail, long sentences. And not only that, the judges in the Supreme Court, you know, they should be investigated too. And another group of people that need to be investigated, the Vatican. The Vatican, the church. They're very corrupt. They have a lot of power and they have a lot of power and influence. They need to be investigated too. Because the Vatican, the church, I'm sure they're connected with the bankers, with the rich powerful people. I'm sure they're all connected. They're all involved. And a lot of corruption going on. And you know something else that needs to be done? There needs to be a full investigation for the child. Okay, they talk about Epstein and the unprivileged girls and children that's being trafficked around the world and around the country.
Sex trafficking.
There need to be a full investigation, like have a panel committee, investigate the children that are being trafficked around the world, not just in America, around the world. Asia, Africa, Europe. A full investigation and have these people held accountable, and have severe punishment, and have a severe sentence for these people when they're found guilty. I know it's a big demand, but yeah.
Yeah, it's you're right about that. Let's hope that different groups of people can put together something that will make an improvement in the way the country's run. I agree with you 100%.
I want to say one more thing. I'm trying to keep it short. I like what some of the African countries are doing. Even in Niger, Mali, I think a couple other countries in Africa, Ghana and Liberia. The leaders are coming together and they're doing things to help their people. They help the black and brown people. That's wonderful. In Ibrahim Touré, in Burkina Faso, what he's doing is beautiful. I mean, he's trying to provide food, job, business. He's trying to get some people rich. He talked about some kind of program where people can buy gold and become wealthy. He provided homes, like 50,000 homes for people who need housing.
Right.
You know, that's good. Food, that's good. That's what this country needs to do. Get away from all this greed and corruption and provide food and jobs and business and healthcare. You know.
So people
Yeah. That's all I gotta say. I can say more, but that's it. That's it for now. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Dr. Lewis,
I have a question.
this is,
Can you hear me?
1 second, once somebody's asking another question.
Hello?
Somebody's asking another question, hold up.
I was just,
Oh, you finish your turn, okay.
One second.
I totally agree, when the sister said, you know, a great presentation,
Very good.
with so much involved, and presently, biblically, I wanted to ask two questions. Well, I was hoping, my hopes, I hope others that are present hope that you will perhaps come in and probably because that's,
Needed.
well, that too, but that's present, that you, spoke on, that, involves, such a big aspect of,
It's a lot.
yeah.
So we try to present it on a global so people can understand things are happening globally that directly affect our lives here. So that's what we had to do. You had a question?
Okay, Zoom audience, question?
Yes, can I ask a question now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Very good. I'm sorry I came a little late on the presentation, but once I found out that it was you were doing it, I certainly tried to jump on as quickly as possible. Before I get to a question really quick, the previous gentleman, I think his name was Jamal Thomas, he talked about Umar Cornell West and Eric Adams. I just want to quickly make a comment before we go to the question. Umar Johnson, even though I put money into his schools, I think apparently he seemed to be very responsible with the donations. Cornell West seemed to be kind of a safe Negro, in my opinion. The evidence being he's always on mainstream platforms, and he doesn't seem to call out Israel, nor the tyranny during the COVID crisis period. So that's very skeptical. Eric Adams was very clear. He made a statement basically saying he was happy to serve Israel during his time as mayor. So I think having those individuals kind of be part of some type of progressive movement, I think we have to have a big talk about that one. That's my opinion based upon their actions. Now the question I have, the strategies Iran seems like they're trying to, let's see how to compare. U.S. and Israel, my understanding, I listen to Scott Ritter a lot. Before I give my question, I'll just give some background really quick. U.S. and Israel are trying to take out Iran, leadership of Iran. Iran is going to tit for tat, meaning if they take out some bank, then Iran is going to take out their bank. But they're trying to do the best thing without killing civilians, from my understanding. I'll stick here, U.S. Gulf Secret. Okay. And they're putting pressure on the U.S. by controlling the state of Hormuz. Iran is also trying to destroy and they also try to destroy the infrastructure of Israel. Israel doing the same thing with Iran. The issue is Israel seems to be, they don't care. U.S. and Israel don't seem to be, they have a care about, the civilians. So in other words, if they kill a civilian, they kill a civilian. So you know how that goes. My question to you, I don't know if you agree with anything I said, but my question to you is, do you think with Iran, with their system, their martyrdom system, where one of their leaders gets killed, they just kind of bring in another one, and if that one gets killed, they bring in another one? Which each one of these individuals, knowing that there's a chance they will be killed because of the intelligence of the U.S. and Israel, do you think if U.S. and Israel continue that strategy, will Iran be able to accomplish their a war mission in the end, a war objective in the end, if there is an end?
Well, the only way I can say it, Iran has a structure to their government, and that structure is redundancy. It's like any country, the organization that runs well. One person, you have one, and you have a second, you have a third, and the fourth backup. So I cannot comment on the fact that if some country decides that they feel that they can kill one or two leaders, that the country is going to collapse. Countries don't work like that. Iran has been around almost 3,000 years. They know how to organize their country. And you got, what did they tell you? They said that Iran, I've heard that Iran has at least 31 independent units. It's not like if you blow up unit one, it's all gonna put the part. The thing is well organized and it's made for survival. It's like any organization that is prepared. You hear the commentators say that since the Iranian Iraq war, when they've been trying to take down Iran, the West has been trying to take down Iran since the 30s. Why? Because it's a big, strong, powerful, well-organized country. And in any area, the biggest countries with the other smaller countries are supposed to get together and run the area for the benefit of all of them. How many, then if you want to run it, you say, well, who should run that area? Well, what are the countries that are, who are there? Iran, Turkey, and any number of those Arab countries, a few others, they live there. Why do you think those countries want somebody else coming to interfere with the way they want to live? Somebody come to your area, put a lot of military bases, start bombing you, sanctioning you. You know, come on. Again, anybody understanding what happened, let me put it this way. Maybe the people who decided to attack Iran thought that they could easily destroy it. They destroyed Libya, took them 9 months. They destroyed Syria, they destroyed Iraq. So maybe some of these countries who are in the business of going around destroying countries, and we know who they are, maybe they felt that they could do to Iran what they were able to do to Libya, what they were able to do to Iraq, what they were able to do to Syria. And maybe it just didn't happen. Because whatever happened with this attack on Iran, this isn't the only attack. The United States has attacked these countries in this area for the last 10 or 15 years. So maybe this is one time where they bit off too much, then they can chew. I don't know.
Every dog has a day.
But the history is here.
Right.
Let me
That's
read.
it, Doc, that's it. Go ahead, 2 minutes.
Okay. This is what the BRICS country want. And this is what they say Iran and most of the non-white countries want. They want a whole new world order.
Yes.
Post-World War II, international monetary system. They're going to restructure it. They don't want the dollar anymore. They don't want the IMF anymore. They don't want the World Bank. They're getting their own bank. So they don't want that economic stranglehold. IMF, World Bank, You build up your military to become more powerful than the ones who bother you. So the BRICS countries are more powerful, some say, than who bothers everybody? United States and the Europeans. So they want a whole new economic structure to build, to make their countries grow, not to be in perpetual debt.
Right.
They want a whole new structure, so they're saying no economic instability. Well, if a country goes around bombing this one and killing the leaders here, why they don't want, people want stability. To promote global trade and peace by attacking Iran and attacking, this is global? No, you're trying to destroy a country or countries. You don't want to compete. Well, when the United States had the largest, strongest economy, why didn't they hold on to it? Why did they send it? The United States economy is not strong because they, whoever they are, they ship everything out for some profit. Nobody took it.
BlackRock.
Okay? So whoever shipped it out, so the people, the Asians, they want peace. No economic instability? No. Oh, I'm going to sanction you. I'm going to blow this up and I'm going to invade you. They want to promote global trade and peace. And they want to stop competitive collectivism and wars. United States, at this point in history, they want to maintain dominance. They had it once. The strongest military in the 40s and 50s, the strongest economy, and what did they do with it? They shipped it out to China, they shipped it out, and as far as why the weapons are much better better in Russia, China, and even Iran. The United States spends on the military more than the next 10 countries. So the United States is spending $1. But China, Russia, Iran, India, all these other countries are spending a total of $1. You got 10 countries spending $1, and you got the United States, one country spending $1, and the rest of these countries having superior weapons. So you ask the country. I'm asking the country that I'm a citizen of the United States. I have a right to ask. Who outsourced millions of jobs when you had the industrial base was the strongest thing? Who outsourced it? Who makes weapons 10 times more expensive that don't work? Just asking the question. I'm a citizen of the United States. I'm a citizen. I was born here. I'm just asking my country. Why do you spend 10 times more for a weapon that don't work? Why did you outsource millions of jobs? Why are you arming people? Is it legitimate for me to ask as a citizen of the United States?
Sound like insurrection.
So I don't know who has a responsibility for it. Iran has built tens of thousands of missiles. 1/3 of the economy of the United States goes for weapons. And you start a war? And the war ain't, what, 2 years? 2 or 3, what is it like? How many days is the war? 2 weeks, 6, 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, and you out of missiles?
Tax dollars, baby. No, it's not military.
It's a legitimate question. I'm not condemning, I'm asking as a citizen, who outsourced millions of jobs? Who spends 10 times, the United States spends on military more than the next 10 nations with inferior stuff. You start a war and you run out of missiles.
BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, give Dr. Lewis a great big hand. There will definitely be another part to this. We will text you in 2 weeks for the next speaker. So I want everybody to give Dr. Lewis a great big hand. You can have a little conversation while we clean up. Cameras off.
Straight up.